original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Are we going? There's no little thing in the middle? Okay, I guess.
Intro.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. We are live from Gillette Stadium. It is Thursday here, and it's Deuce, it's Evan, it's Paul, still in the middle of lunch.
We ate early today.
It's myself, and it's Faith in the booth.
Maiden voyage.
Yeah. You going to do this solo, Faith? Answering phones, the whole thing? Okay. All right. She's got a smile on now. Let's see what happens in 20 minutes. All right. So what are we doing here, guys?
I mean, we're getting ready for the draft. It's 2 weeks away, so you can feel the excitement.
It's unbelievable.
2 weeks. Feel the excitement.
2 weeks.
I don't know actually if you can feel the excitement because I feel like this is the part where you get a little bit into draft fatigue. People might have noticed last week, Evan got a little of an edge to him. You know,
last week?
Our last show. I apologize.
Last month.
Since he was hired.
Since he was hired. A little bit of an
I
edge.
appreciate that.
Little salty. You know, it's silly season, but I think we're probably on the verge of the next 10 days that there might be some, not even Patriots specific, but maybe some final moves before the draft as teams try to Aaron Rodgers perhaps locking down stuff like that. Any trades, if anything, if you want a draft pick, now's the time. So I think a little bit just waiting to see what's going to happen here to set the stage.
Yeah, I think the preparation part, the hay is in the barn when it comes to film study. Our big boards, I think, are going to be out next week. So we've done all of the prep work, and now it's just the calm before the storm and figuring out. I think the big thing that Mike just said is now's the time where teams recognize that maybe they want to trade up or they want to trade back or whatever. And some of those trades do happen now that teams are getting in the room and really solidifying their boards. And now's the time where they might say, well, if we want to get our guy, we're going to have to move up 5 spots. So we'll do it now instead of doing it on draft night. But I think the other big draft nugget that's really been circulating, all the big Jays now at this point have basically penciled in Bryce Young to the Carolina Panthers with the number 1 pick, which opens up a domino effect really more in the top 5 than anything. But where does Stroud end up? How high does Levis and Richardson end up going as well? That really seems like the best kept secret in the league right now.
So the Panthers made that move a while ago, and they never really came out and said, this is why, we assume it's for a quarterback, but they never mentioned. Is this people saying that they're hearing, or has the Panthers actually said, yeah, we're going to take Young?
Hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Panthers haven't said that.
Panthers haven't said it.
Which I think like the league wouldn't like that, right?
Yeah, but sometimes teams just say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think it has happened a little bit recently, but it used to happen all the time because they would make the deal.
Right.
Because you had to sign the guy.
I feel like I remember Mario Williams. That's a little bit, I don't know if that's more recent than you're talking about, but that was one where it was just like, yep, we're taking him. I think that came out maybe a few days before.
That did come out, and I think, in general, the first pick, but this one, I think, everybody seems to be in agreement that it's Bryce Young. So,
and I see the Patriots have just made an announcement, Fred, if you care to
go ahead.
Care to comment. The finalists for the 2023 Patriots Hall of Fame induction have been announced. Logan Mankins, Bill Parcells, and Mike Vrabel.
In alphabetical order, not in terms of votes.
MPV.
Yeah. So when is voting open? For the fans.
This information is not readily available to me. Shortly. I got to pull it up. But it is a fan vote. The fans decide.
Yep.
So the committee, which is you guys, decided, and I'm delaying here as I pull up.
Yeah, that was not my list.
It wasn't your list?
No.
Really?
We were wondering that.
Mine was Mankins. No, mine was Vrabel, Mankins, Welker.
Good, Fred.
I'm very confused.
You were on the side of right.
Yeah.
And I asked Paul this before we started recording because you guys are obviously in the room and we're not. I'm very confused about how Welker can't get on the ballot. It just doesn't really add up to me.
Well, I think Parcells knocked him off. There's a lot of old guys in the room,
I'm
which
glad you
I'm not
said it.
complaining about because you need that perspective.
I didn't want to say it because I'm
But
not an old guy.
I'm not going to name a name, but one person in his argument for Bill Parcells one of the things that he was, saying that he should be on, because he stopped in the parking lot once and talked to me for 10 minutes. I am not kidding. I'm not kidding.
That people should lose his vote. That person.
I mean, I said it out loud enough for people to hear. I said, so what? That was my, so what?
Are personal anecdotes a common
I mean,
thing to bring up with why I'm voting for a certain person?
No. And it's an exaggeration to what
It's not an
Fred said.
exaggeration.
He didn't say that's why he's voting for him.
That was one of the I said one
Personal anecdotes are
one of the reasons.
definitely a part of it. And I don't really see much of, well, I think it's ridiculous if that's why he voted for him. I agree with Fred. I don't think that's why he voted
That wasn't the whole thing, no. But in his, soliloquy about why Parcells should be one of the nominees, he said, and just to show you what kind of guy he is, I was and he stopped and he talked to me. And we talked for 10 minutes about football. So what? So what? I just
think that was an anecdote about a guy you don't like.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of anecdotes that I would say so what about in those meetings.
Here's the thing.
Be honest with you.
And I like Bill Parcells. But I don't think he should be in a team, the Patriots specifically, Hall of Fame. That's it. I like him. Think he was a great coach.
So what I can't understand, and I have no problem with Parcells. We've talked about this many times. We don't need to. I did not have Parcells on my ballot this time. I had Welker. To me, this is to me the no-brainer of all no-brainers, but I guess I'm wrong again. I'm on my island because I can't even get him on the finalist ballot. I can't even get him there.
I wanted him.
I don't even think there's a close other candidate to him. Right. That's how obvious I think it is. But clearly I'm wrong. Well, not wrong. Clearly no one agrees with me.
No, because there was, like I said, I'd say.
I think there's as many people that didn't have Parcells on their ballot than strongly endorsed
Would you
Parcells.
say 60% of the people in the room are over 50 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really know what that has
and
to do
I
with
think
it.
a lot of them were there when Parcells was there, and I think they have this fondness for the grandeur of Bill Parcells.
See, here's where I don't think that most of those guys covered Parcells.
No?
I mean, I don't. I think there's...
I think enough did.
There's a handful that did, but I think most of those guys are older like me. Like, I'm over 50. I didn't cover Parcells.
Yeah. But you were around. You were a fan of the team. Then.
I would... My guess is...
Like Phil Perry was... He probably doesn't even remember.
Well, he's a little younger,
Yeah.
but I'll guarantee you Mike Reese does.
Well, he was covering the team.
He didn't cover Bill Parcells.
When did I hire him?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he did cover Bill Parcells. No, I think he...
No, he came
covered
after.
with Carroll.
Yeah, he came after.
The voting is open now, too, real quick.
Okay.
Just, Patriots.com/Hall of Fame through May 2nd.
No, it just... I don't know.
I think there is some...
something
going on that I don't really understand. Evan and I talked about it a little bit off the air.
It's because Parcells got a lot of votes. That's why Welker's not on the ballot.
No, but there's something about so why did Welker get knocked off? I think there's something about Welker that people are. I don't know if it's the drop, and I think we have to explain that because I think everybody knows what I'm talking about.
That's not what I think it is.
The Rex Ryan thing.
I personally,
maybe.
I would have said what you said, but I'm glad you said it and not me because I understand that makes me sound like ageist a little bit. But I think the biggest thing to me with Welker is that, and this happens with all Halls of Fame, not just the Patriots Hall of Fame, but the Pro Football Hall of Fame on down, is that the experience that each reporter had with the person that we're discussing ends up outweighing what the person actually did on the field.
I think that should be irrelevant.
But this is why I made the point. I don't think a lot of those guys had interaction with Parcells.
I'm not saying Parcells. I'm saying that the media that was here, which I think was 90% of the people in the room that vote at this point, covered Wes Welker, and I think Wes Welker was kind of a dick. I think he was kind of an a-hole. And
I'd say I didn't.
He could be a little bit. I hear what Evan's saying.
So
yeah.
I didn't cover Welker, but I covered Edelman. And I will never forget that in Edelman's retirement press conference with the media, he apologized to the media for being a dink.
Edelman did?
Yeah. Yes.
And he was a dink at times too.
Oh, yeah. And from everything
I
that
don't know. I
everything
liked
that
him too.
everything that I had heard from people that were here for Welker said that Welker was basically comparable with the media to Edelman. And
I would agree with that.
And if
you thought one was, I would agree with that.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I personally think that the people in that room put personal feelings too much invested, and this is not just this room, this is every room that votes on these types of things. And I'm with Fred. I don't think that how Wes Welker spoke to the media, or when Julian Edelman used to get mad when people would step on his shoes at his locker, like, he's going into the Patriots Hall of Fame, he's getting a red jacket.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, evidently not now.
Not this year.
Well, it's none of that stuff should matter, is my point,
It
because
shouldn't.
It shouldn't,
absolutely
but I
shouldn't.
think there's only so many ways that you can divvy these guys up, and how do you make a comparison between an offensive guard and a wide receiver? I mean, if you're a stats guy, you're going to clearly say a wide receiver. So my point, though, is just that I think everybody is going to bring personal things to it. And
Correct.
For these three guys, I bring my own personal things to it. As a fan, I come from the perspective as a kid who is like right in the prime, 14, 15 years old when Bill Parcells was hired. I sat through 2 win seasons here. I looked at the Patriots as not even a legit NFL franchise. So my experience as a fan, it wasn't a personal interaction with Bill Parcells, but that's how I view him. Mike Vrabel, I'm a Mike Vrabel guy in this group. I think it's, he needs to get in. I think he's one of those core guys that define this early part of the dynasty, but that's a large part of the fan speaking.
Well,
in me
I think
that's
it's
saying,
two things.
I love the player.
What was his performance and what was his contribution to the team? Those are, to me, and a team Hall of Fame.
But if you're going to say that Welker is losing because of being difficult with the media, the single biggest thorn in the side of the media was Mike Vrabel. And now he's
right.
now in his 7th trip
Yep.
to the finalist stage. And
No, I
clearly none of the writers, all of which have covered Mike Vrabel, have held his sort of I always loved it.
Surliness?
Surliness is a great word. He was difficult for the sake of being
He was
difficult.
a wise ass.
Yeah.
He's a ball-busting wise ass.
Which is exactly why I loved him.
right.
Me too.
Fred, that's exactly what Mike Vrabel was. If you took it seriously and you took it
Right.
to heart,
That's all he was.
you'd go home and
Cry, yeah.
you'd feel sorry for
Mean
yourself.
to me.
I knew it wasn't serious. I knew he was joking around. I learned that very early on with him, and we had a great relationship. But that's not why I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Because I liked him is not why I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
The difference between Welker and Vrabel is obviously the rings. Yeah. And I think that's what gets Vrabel over the top of that. But with Wes, he doesn't have the rings. He has this little thing with the media that maybe exists.
You got to say
I
the
don't
drop,
know.
too. You got to say the drop, too. I mean, that's just
I
that's
think
part.
the
And
drop
I don't
is
hold
it.
that against him, but, I just think those things overshadow the incredible production that even when you go back now and look compared to Julian Edelman, it's like, holy crap, you forget how good Wes Welker really was, how productive.
And
Couldn't
Paul
even
made a
close.
great point in the room.
Thank you, Fred.
Don't
even know what it was.
No, the point of, everybody, you can say, oh, Brady made Welker. In the year that Brady was hurt in 2008, with Matt Castle, Welker still had
His
over
numbers
1,000.
were exactly the same.
Well, still had over 1,000 yards with Matt Castle as his quarterback. Wes Welker was the slot
I want to
machine.
say he caught
was-
113 passes in 2007. He caught 112 in 2008 with Castle. It was something like that.
He was the slot machine.
They called him Slotty Pippen.
If I could just pound the table, though, for
I never
Vrabel,
heard that. I kind of like it.
Slotty Pippen.
Slotty Pippen.
To me, Mike Vrabel embodies so much of what made this team great, from being, kind of that proverbial cast-off. I don't even want to call him a cast-off, because when I talked to him directly for that podcast, he was going to have opportunities in Pittsburgh, but here it was like, here's a chance to start. So he's kind of one of those guys, hey, when somebody else doesn't need him, we're going to make him into a star. But the versatility to play, 2005, he moves inside, and then he caught 10 touchdowns. It's just, he
Out
did
of 10
so much
attempts.
for this team.
10 for 10.
Crazy. I don't know. That to me just screams Hall of Fame.
He caught them all in the end zone, Fred. So if he was going to catch them, they were going to be touchdowns.
No, I'm just saying that his 10 receptions were all touchdowns.
But big plays, you can remember big plays in Super Bowl 36. I can remember just off the top of my head, 39 big sacks. He was a big player in big games. He did whatever they needed. He was consistent.
You'll
me,
never get me to say a bad word about
To me,
Vrabel's candidacy.
The first thing you said about him, to me, is why he's a slam dunk, is the versatility. When he moved inside, it was because of injury.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Chad
like,
Brown and Monty Beisel.
let's try Mike Vrabel inside just to see. He did it out of necessity, and he played really well inside.
I really hope he's the pick this year.
He played every position at linebacker. He played defensive end when they needed. He was so versatile. And then he's in the biggest games, he played the best.
Yeah.
He was
Right.
he was just such, so you look at contribution to the team. Oh my God. It's out of this world with Mike Vrabel. He's a slam dunk.
And he just had a swagger to him. Like he was, and I think, all these guys had it, and I usually shy away from swagger, but there was just a confidence about Mike Vrabel, especially grouped with Teddy Bruschi and Willie McGinnis. And, as a fan, these guys got it. Like, it's a feeling now that's kind of slipped away, obviously, in the last few years, but just that confidence of that defense and what those guys could bring. I love that guy. And
they were smart. They were versatile. It was.
He's the last core piece from that defense that's not in.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
And
So
you
true.
guys remember him obviously a lot better than I do, so I'll let you guys talk about the specifics, but he's the last guy out of that group of, Law, Bruschi, McGinnis, Harrison. Like, all those guys are already in, so it's his turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, Malloy would be, 1,
Yeah.
2, but he definitely at a level down because he didn't span the whole time.
Yep.
But listen, like I said, you'll never get me to say anything counter to the Vrabel argument. This is the 7th time he's been a finalist. I really hope the fans vote for him this time. I hope he gets in. I hope they stop with their petty nonsense. The good thing about this is these are 3 guys the fans don't like, so they have to pick somebody. It's like when we had 3 sort of older guys at the same time and Ray Claiborne got in. Because I don't think one of those, Russ Francis against Wes Welker and Matt Light, stands no chance. But you put him against 2 other guys from the 70s, and, Russ Francis could get in. Mankins had the contract holdout. They ended up trading him. People didn't like that. And because of that, it's like, what did they ever win with him?
Yeah.
Like it was his fault that they didn't win Super Bowls. Welker obviously had a drop in the Super Bowl, damn him. And Vrabel had the audacity when he got traded to Kansas City to ask where all the money was going for Patriot Place and why the players weren't getting it. So he was persona non grata too. Yeah. So now you got to pick somebody you don't like. Which I think is great. These guys are all deserving.
I think you're overstating it a little bit with Vrabel. I don't think it was that they don't like him. I just think it's just a matter of who he was up against. They like those other guys better.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
But no.
That's utterly insane.
No.
The guys that got in over him.
Not necessarily.
I would have gone him
including
over
last year.
Will Fork.
Yeah.
I would have.
That's not even close. Will Fork didn't make my ballot last year, and he got in.
Yeah, I just think Will Fork was more of a fan favorite. But you don't want to talk about, like, with the media, Will Fork, where was he after losses? He
was openly
point
confrontational.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
But I don't care about that. I'm with Evan on that. That's not why I vote for guys.
But I'm just saying that, for fans, but Vrabel was number 1 on my list. And it has been for a while, but
I hope he
we'll
gets
see.
in. I also saw that, just to put it out there, I saw he's doing some event locally in June. So I was like, maybe if he got in, we could do the whole ceremony over the summer instead of having a,
well, it's not going to be the same. If he gets in, they can't do it in, like, late July.
Yeah, no, they'll have to adjust if he gets in.
Oh,
yeah.
Are those rumors of Tennessee trip maybe?
No, I'm just saying you can't do it in late July. He's coaching his team. You can't just say, do you have a spare weekend to fly up?
Well, that might be a good thing. Get them off their preparation. We're trying to chess.
Anyway,
three D.
So that was breaking news.
I think it's going to be Mankins, though. Unfortunately, I mean, I think to Paul's points, I think he's the cleanest prospect.
The Logan Mankins.
I think these guys. I think it's going to be Vrabel because of what I said. They don't like all 3.
I hope so. I hope it's Vrabes.
I'm really surprised by how many people in my sphere that love Logan Mankins so much, because when the Patriots draft guards or spend money on guards, they get dragged for it to the end of time. But for some reason, Logan Mankins, at least to the people that I hear
because
from,
he was more than a guard.
No,
he was.
I like that.
It's
because he was more than a guard. First of all, he was a tackle coming out.
Yeah.
So was Joe Tooney.
He could have played tackle as he did at a very high level on a moment's notice. He played another whole season on a torn ACL. That's the kind of stuff that we eat up. It's kind of like the Bruins, right? Who's one of the most beloved Bruins of all time, Deuce? Go back to the 70s.
Bobby Orr.
Terry O'Reilly.
Terry O'Reilly. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Tasmanian Devil.
Least talented guy of all time.
Right.
We love him because, man, does he try hard and run through the boards for you.
And he goes
Trot
up into
Nixon
the stands.
for the Red Sox.
Terry O'Reilly's number is retired with
I know.
the Bruins.
I know.
I think it was it against the Rangers? He climbed up into the stands. And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but he wasn't alone there. That was
I know.
Bill Berry,
I think he led
McNabb,
that
they were
line.
all up there.
Yeah.
But and that's no disrespect to Terry O'Reilly, who is a great player for that great.
Right.
Like to Fred's point earlier about like a team Hall of Fame, Terry O'Reilly should be in a team's Hall of Fame. Is he a Hall of Fame player? No, he couldn't skate. But he got like every ounce of production out of his ability, and I think that's what people look at, like that toughness, that grit.
It's tough for
Around
you,
here,
Paul.
they love
I mean,
that.
But you love Mankins. You guys have a great relationship.
But I love
mean,
all of
the
those
show,
guys. I love Mankins. I love Vrabel. Like
Were you bringing up like?
Well, there
they
was
just keep picking guys that don't necessarily belong.
I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of talk in the room about Mosey Tutupu, about how great a special teamer he was. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if he goes in, I mean, if Slater goes in, then should he?
Well, you know what was funny about that? You know, like you guys have an idea of who I am, right? Pretty stubborn, right?
Fairly.
When I heard the name get nominated, I literally was like, my time's valuable. Like we have to waste the next 5 minutes talking about Mosey. I thought that was an excellent argument made for Mosey Tutupu's candidacy. And again, I'm going to fall back on Fred's team Hall of Fame here. I know he's probably never going to get in. But like when you have a team Hall of Fame, that's the kind of guy, and his impact off the field, that should count for a team Hall of Fame. We're not talking about Canton. We're talking about Foxborough, right? This is a guy, like, I'm telling you, if you heard the argument, you would have been like, and again,
it made you think,
didn't it, Fred? Like, I'm
it
not
made you
alone,
think.
right?
Better case than Parcells.
And I won't say it on the air because I don't want to embarrass anybody. Yeah. But the person who made the argument made it all the more stunning that it was so, like, it was excellent.
It's
like,
funny
I wasn't expecting the amount of research.
Yeah.
Like, it was really done.
And then the other guy that, I know he was a good player, but I never considered him. But the argument kind of was Malloy.
Oh, Lawyer should be in the Hall.
I mean, his numbers are better than Rodney Harris.
He's in trouble because of the logjam. But that's...
Nah, he should.
He
get in
definitely.
eventually.
He's a Hall of Fame player.
Just to go back to Mosey real quick. I mean, as a Patriots fan growing up around here, he was one of the only players I really knew. And I called him Mosey Two Poo-Poos when I was a little kid. I mean, I was like 6 years old, but that was what I called him. If you asked me who was my favorite player, probably for the Patriots, it was probably Mosey Tutupu.
See, I always just looked at him as like special team.
Is that what he did? I don't even really remember what he actually did on the field.
Yeah, I mean,
he was Matthew Slater, only he played some.
Yeah,
offense, especially in bad weather.
Like what, running back? Or?
Yeah, running back.
Yeah, he was a running back.
He was a plotter.
My cousin
he had a couple of 100-yard games in the snow.
I mean, he averaged over, 5 yards a carry or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because my cousin dated Lofa, who went to King Philip and had a little bit of a career with
Seattle.
went to Maine and then went to Seattle. Yeah.
Good player. He was a good player.
Yep. Funny, you don't even remember. Like, I don't even know what that.
But
when I was a kid, like,
you know what? Just the amount of research that went into it was quite impressive, and I came away from it like I'm not gonna lie. Like I told you, I had no brainers to me for my finalists. But I came away from it like, wow, we should be thinking of guys like that a little bit more than we do.
You probably get there. I mean, I think now you're just trying to get through.
They'll never get there. This logjam is not going to go away.
To that point, and you two, I think, are good perspective. Allowing two guys in for a little while, is that totally off the table? Because
I believe it is, but we've talked about it. We've advocated for it.
Because now that guys like Brady and Edelman and Gronk and all these guys are going to start coming up, so then guys like Vrabel, once Brady is on the ballot,
this is where the missteps of earlier years have hurt. Like Vrabel should be in. Like Vrabel 7 years is waiting. 7! While Matt Light's in. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It would be an epic speech, though, after 7 years. I mean, he would probably give so much crap to all the fans who are there. It's about time. I mean, I can already...
But, Evan, Fred and I have talked to Stacey a little bit, about it, and I understand Stacey's point completely. You have to sort of establish some guidelines and parameters, and you can't just go willy-nilly. I think that they've tried to set up a senior committee that meets, was it every 3 years or something like that? To put in, like, the Leon Grays of the world, that are never going to get in on the ballot. The only one I think that we might be able to, I think Brady could be just put in. And then
Yeah.
we should, I personally
smart.
think we should still do a regular nomination ceremony that year. Brady should be a different entity all to itself.
Yep.
Same with Bill.
Yep.
Belichick.
Yeah. Yeah.
We shouldn't have to, go
Right.
through the
fan voting process.
the process of that and
Right.
subject that. So maybe two people, like if it's Brady and then it
Right.
happens to be Welker that year, Brady goes in on his own ceremony and Welker gets the summer fete,
Yeah.
But
Yep.
there was no discussion about Brady going in now.
No.
No.
Not yet.
No.
Because he might unretire. Is that
Well,
No, I think it's too quick.
the committee has no say in that.
Right.
Right.
You
That
know?
would be an organization decision.
Yeah.
We talked about Dante. Cool moment, Fred, right?
Yep.
When Robert Kraft came into the meeting, I think I talked to you guys about this off air. He came into the meeting and just basically announced that he's only used his executive privilege on a handful of occasions to just name a Hall of Famer, and he did it with Dante Scarnecchia, and it was a cool moment. The whole room got up, gave him a standing O.
I think with Brady, though, he's just like a buffer year at least to just let things settle.
Plus, you have
get
to
him
prepare
away,
for that. You
know?
can't just say, "Oh yeah, he's well." Okay, now what?
I just want to read this email just in case other people are thinking about this. And whoever emailed, you are 100% wrong.
Oh.
He says, if you're going to give fans a choice, you can't rig the vote. You guys know full well that Parcells will never get a plurality of the fan vote in any three-way race, at least while he is alive. That needs to be a Kraft family insert like Dante. Well, what does that have to do with rigging?
Right. Those two things are not the same.
Yeah.
I agree. He'll never win,
Yeah, but
but no one's ever rigged the
I
vote.
can tell you these votes are not rigged. Because I have heard a lot of people say, "Oh, the Krafts will never let Parcells in." This is not rigged. They may not like it, but if he gets voted in, he's going in.
And I also don't necessarily believe that
Right.
the Krafts will never let him in.
Right. That's
I think I think that's if and when he gets in, I think that will be how.
yeah.
But like I said, right now it's Parcells, Vrabel, Mankins. There's a reason that the fans can make to not vote for somebody. Parcells will always be against two other guys that are more attractive in the fans' eyes.
Ryan, who's the person who sent his email, he says also, similarly, Vrabel will never win so long as he is the head coach of a rival NFL team. That means whoever the third choice is will win by default. Congrats, Logan Mankins.
That's what Mike thinks.
Yeah.
He thinks Mankins will get in this year.
He says, in the future, I suggest the committee make sure that there are at least two viable candidates in the ballot to make this a more worthy exercise. Also, whatever happened to the
Maybe he should run.
Wait a
the
minute.
show.
So we don't think that Mike Vrabel and Logan Mankins are viable candidates?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to. Parcells is a different thing. He elicits strong responses from different people, and I respect them. I really do. I respect Evan and Fred. No. I mean, to me, it's a strong yes, but I respect their no's, and I know why. I understand it. But you're telling me that Logan Mankins is not a viable candidate?
Right.
Mike Vrabel's not a viable candidate?
Well, I think he's saying in terms of fan voting, they're not viable.
You don't think Mike Vrabel's viable in terms of fan voting?
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Here's
Because
my,
he's the head coach of a rival NFL.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you think that's why he's not getting in, you're out of your mind.
Right.
Here's my two things on Parcells. Number one, everybody always credits him with laying the foundation for Dynasty 1.0. But
Correct.
the man himself famously said, if I can't shop for the groceries, how do you expect me to make the dinner? So how can you sit here and say
It's one pick.
that but where okay, so that's one pick.
They took his power away. That's why he left.
I
He had
just,
the power before that.
I just feel like that element of it gets ignored. And the other thing that I would say is the way that he coached in that Super Bowl was deplorable.
I agree. Allowing Belichick to have Lori Malloy one-on-one with Antonio Freeman to get beat for an 81-yard touchdown was inexcusable. I'd have fired him that day for allowing Belichick to screw that Super Bowl up the way he did.
I
see how he turns it.
No, I've heard these arguments so many times, and I just can't grasp the fact that he threw the Super Bowl.
I'm not saying he threw it.
Who
That's
said
not
he
sa-
threw it?
No.
A lot of people say his mind wasn't on the game.
Okay.
That's different than throwing it.
Yeah, it is, Paul.
You don't think he did everything in his power to win that game?
I don't.
A lot
think-
of people don't.
I
You're not alone if you don't.
Yeah, I don't think he was 100%
Yeah,
vested.
I do.
I think the way that the game unfolded, they ended up having a much better chance of winning the game than maybe we thought going into the game.
I
And
was still naive at the time. I was all in.
well, regardless, but
I thought they were going to beat the Bears.
they had a way better chance of, as it unfolded. They had a lead in the second half,
No,
and
they didn't.
they didn't have a lead in the second half of the game.
They had a lead at halftime.
Yeah.
No, they did not.
It was 14-10.
After the first quarter,
You
they were
sure?
down 27-14 at the half.
I don't know.
Look it up.
He definitely has a better memory for these
You
things.
might
than me,
be right.
so- I know they
lost
had
to
a
a better
lead in the
team.
game.
You know, my snark,
they-
were-
my snark with the
of course
coverage,
they were
is
better.
just that. It's snark. They lost to a better team.
Yeah, they lost to a better team, but I think as the game unfolded, they actually had a puncher's chance in the game to win it.
They did have a
And-
chance.
And some
They-
of the coaching decisions were a big reason
Okay,
why
so
on the
what was the
margins.
coaching decision that Parcells made that was why they didn't have a chance?
He's the head coach of the team. It's the same way that we give criticism to Bill now.
No, but I mean, is it a coaching decision to allow 3 50-plus yard touchdowns in a game? Was that a Parcells decision?
If you ask me, it's a coaching decision to kick off to Desmond Howard.
Okay, that's a fair point.
What about-
I think you have to kick off.
What about not playing Troy Brown on special teams?
He was hurt.
He was still better than the guys they had in there.
How do you know?
He said so. Troy Brown.
Oh, okay.
He said he could have played.
Yeah,
he
but
said
what-
he was mad he didn't play.
Of course he was mad he didn't play, but was he healthy enough
He
to play
thinks
over
he
the guy?
was.
Of course he does, but was he?
Probably.
Like, how many guys go out there and play hurt, but they really shouldn't have?
My point
A
is
million.
with Desmond Howard, when you go up against a returner like that, when you go up against a Devin Hester, when you go up against somebody of that caliber, you have a plan going into the game of we're going to kick away from him, we're going to squib, we're going to do something to avoid giving him an opportunity like he had to return it. And the other thing I would say is if you go back and watch that game, Reggie White takes over the game, and they did nothing to slow him down. They're just leaving it.
When did he take over the game?
In the fourth quarter.
When they were down what?
14 points.
So you could no longer do what? Keep a tight end to chip Reggie White. I know. Listen, I know all the hits. The hits have been played over and over and over. Max Lane and Ben Coates did fine against Reggie White for 3 quarters of that game. They were down 14 in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't do that anymore. They had to throw on every down, and they had to have Ben Coates part of that.
They were down 14 because he kicked off to
And
Desmond Howard.
Reggie White took the game over like great Hall of Fame players do, which gets me back to my original point.
Yeah.
They lost to a better team.
Yeah.
They had a chance. I agree with Evan. They had a chance.
They were up
27-21
14-10 after the first quarter, but then it was...
Did you actually have to look it up, or were you? Evan just gave me the benefit of the doubt and said, "I know he knows."
No,
these things.
I thought it'd be nice to know
27-14
exactly how
at the
it
half.
went. It
Correct?
was 14-10, and then 27-14.
Then
at
the
half.
Patriots made it 27-21
Curtis-
on a
Curtis
Curtis Martin
Martin
18-yard touchdown run.
That's accurate. And then right after
This
that,
is why I just said Paul knows these things.
These are my guys.
I knew they were 14-10
You know, like-
at one
Yeah,
point.
I did too.
You
I
know,
said halftime.
fanboy Paul. This is
heartbreak.
like peak
Yeah.
fanboy Paul.
Yeah.
oh, you're so mad after this.
Oh, the fight!
Who
I-
are
But
you
you
mad
weren't
at?
mad at
the fight-
Parcells?
The fight I was mad because I knew he was leaving.
Yeah.
That's what I was mad. I spent the whole game,
Yeah.
week 16 at the Meadowlands against the Giants. It's a Saturday, and the Patriots had that. They were down 22-0. They came back and won 23-22. And he's walking. We were like in the first row. He's walking out. Literally, me and my idiot. Al from Everett was one of them. You know the famous Al from Everett on the radio. We're all screaming, "Tuna, please don't leave! Please, Tuna, please!"
Well,
I had about 27
What's your
million lights in
rebuttal
me.
to the he's a 500 coach with the Patriots?
Well,
What's-
I mean, based on what he took over and what he built, I mean,
I knew you had one. I was just
Oh
wondering.
yeah.
I mean, but that one's a little bit more like
But-
even the
but-
hater would
but
have to
my
say
thing
he
with
took over the
my
very
thing
worst
with my
franchise
thing,
in sports.
My thing with
Yeah.
Parcells was
It took
more,
some time.
more behind the scenes of why he shouldn't be in a team Hall of Fame. It's because what he put the owner through every year from day one, from the first year that Kraft owned it. I don't know if I want to coach next year.
Two-way street.
Oh really?
I don't know.
Just keep
no,
him
no,
hanging
Paul.
on.
Two sides-
He
there's two
started
sides-
it
two
from-
sides to every
Paul,
story.
He started it from day one.
Because they didn't give him what they give Belichick. If they gave him what they give Belichick, it wouldn't have been like
He
that.
didn't even. This is the first year, Paul. It hadn't even
No,
started yet.
I know.
Kraft just bought the team.
I'm not blaming Robert Kraft for being a
First
rookie
thing
owner.
he said was, "I don't know if I'm going to come back next year."
Right.
Every year he'd go through this.
And do you
Was it
think
'cause
if
of money?
no,
It was just
being-
because
it's
Bill
Just
'cause
likes
he's-
to keep people
because
hanging
Parcells
on.
was a
Yeah.
drama queen.
because
Yeah.
he's not a team player.
That's ridiculous.
But he
was
had a
drama
beer with
queen.
the media, so he's on the
Right,
finalist ballot.
right.
He stopped.
So wait a minute.
He cracked good jokes during press conferences.
Yeah, like when he cracked good jokes during press conferences.
Yeah,
like when he told the guy it was a stupid question. Dumbass.
They let him. He let the media into his right. Wasn't that they would go into the office, right? And he would like just do little press conferences,
Some would,
like
yeah,
right in the office there.
Some would.
Nice guy.
Listen, he was
talked to me in the parking lot for 10
when,
minutes.
He was charming. He could be charming. I mean,
I'm sure. I think Bill can be charming in his own way.
Oh.
I do.
Only if
I've said a lot of bad things about
only
Bill
if you were
lately,
at
so-
a vastly higher station in life than we all
Listen,
are.
100% true.
The two bills are cut from the same cloth. There's no doubt about it. But Parcells had a way with the media. He had a way
And that's why he's
to
on the
make it
finalist ballot.
entertaining. But they both never told you anything.
No.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick learned a lot of the stuff that he does now from Parcells. He just has a different personality.
A lot of this Parcells stuff just sounds like an abuser, like he always keeps you guessing, and then
Where
all
are
of a
we
sudden he's
going
really
with
nice
this?
to you.
That is true.
That
is true.
all of a sudden he's really
I think
nice.
that's
Like, oh my
largely
God, he's
true
so
of
nice.
him.
But then he's a dick to you most of the time. You're
Well,
like,
Mike, that one time I was walking to my car and he stopped and talked to me for 10 minutes
This
in
is
the
why I
parking
think
lot.
he's
and
doing
I
a disservice
Right.
to the guy who said something stupid.
well, see,
No,
now
I'm so
laughing
glad Fred brought
because
that up.
this would be me in these kind of meetings. Where I was like, well, I
and
was at the combine. He talked to me one time.
And the other
Right.
thing that gets thrown around in the room a lot is Parcells saved the Patriots. If it wasn't for Parcells, they wouldn't be here, which is such BS. If it wasn't for Robert Kraft,
I
they'd
give
be
him
in
full
St.
credit for that.
Louis.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to say what Parcells, then give James Orthwein
Yeah.
the credit because he hired Parcells.
Okay.
Let's
I'll
put
give,
James
I'll give
Orthwein.
Orthwein the credit then.
If we want to say
because I think if Parcells wasn't the coach, they were gone.
Where were they going?
I don't know where they were going. Now, I don't really care because 3 years later there'd have been a team here because Boston was going
Right.
to have an NFL
Right,
team. So I don't really
I don't care. I don't care if Parcells was the coach. If Kraft hadn't bought the team, they'd have been in St. Louis. They'd have been the St. Louis Stallions. They already had the logo.
Maybe.
It's a fact.
No, it's not.
We'd have the
They didn't
Ravens.
move. If they moved,
Because
and-
Kraft
if
had
they-
the lease.
If they moved and came back, then it would be a fact.
Okay.
They didn't move.
I also
They
just
would have
it's
been
not a
gone.
fact.
Kraft saved them. Kraft saved the team and kept them here. That's a fact.
And if you, I
had
agree
the
with you
Ravens. We could have been the
100%,
Ravens.
and that's why I'm not giving Parcells any credit for that. And I think we've also learned since 2020 who really is the reason why we all have all of this, right?
Yeah.
And his
Oh, I
posters
would
hanging
never
on
say
the
Bledsoe
door
was
right
over
there.
Brady.
So if Parcells, he laid the foundation. Well, then Tom Brady came and he won 6 freaking Super Bowls.
Right.
Okay, and then he left, and now we're where we're at.
Right.
So who really was the one that was the foundation to that team? I think it was the freaking quarterback.
Yep.
God.
Yeah.
I still have
True.
everything you guys have said, but I still have some warm feelings for the guy, and I like
That's
and
fine.
but
But we're talking about a team Hall of Fame.
You're
Right.
wrong, Mike.
And he belongs in it for the reasons that Mike said.
Then put him in as a
he
contributor.
changed the
because he
entire
doesn't
way
get-
we thought of our team.
He
Now,
doesn't.
listen,
He doesn't deserve it over the players.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Like if I'm doing a hierarchy, that's why Parcells wasn't on my ballot this year. It was Welker, Vrabel, Mankins. 1, 2, 3. I agree with Evan. The players deserve more than that particular coach. I would agree with that.
And that's
but
my
the
only
whole
point.
like in a team Hall of Fame. I think everything Mike said is right. Like, yes, okay, technically maybe you have more information on the move than I do, Fred. Maybe they would have moved anyway. But Parcells changed the entire way everybody in this town thought about football.
There's no
No
doubt.
one ever knew a thing about
Because
football.
he was great.
And he came here and gave you instant credibility.
Because that's true. Because he was a great coach and already had 2 rings
He
with the
changed
Giants.
it all.
But when he got here, he
pain in the butt.
like
He absolutely was a pain in
he
the butt.
could give 2 craps about the Patriots. All he cared about was Bill Parcells.
I don't care because
Yeah.
the two were synonymous.
I just real quick for you,
Yes.
Fairbanks. I mean,
Same thing as Parcells.
But just
Yeah.
for Evan, who's a scheme guy, and I mean, I always think it's fascinating. And I don't know if enough people appreciate it, but both of the kind of schemes like were started here in the '70s by Chuck Fairbanks, Ray Perkins. Like, I'm interested like what your view on Chuck Fairbanks.
So
would be.
was it last year that Don Coryell got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame
Yeah,
finally?
ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous? There's literally an offensive system named
I
after
don't
him.
care.
It's called the Air Coryell.
Yeah, so what?
Don't add him.
So what?
What do you mean? It's an X's and O's game, and he's like the pioneer of the forward
So
pass.
are we going to give like whoever came up with the cover 2 put them in the Hall of Fame?
No, but
Okay.
Well, as long as you're on that
You know,
line,
Bud
Tony Dungy's kind of in for the tip too.
Bud Wilkinson came up with
I'm just saying.
Bud Wilkinson came up with the 3-4 defense. Is he going in?
Yes.
He is?
Yeah, he's a college football Hall of Famer because he didn't really coach in the NFL all that long. But yes, it's the answer to all of these questions. And Paul Brown's the next one because he pretty much invented everything else.
Paul Brown, okay. I'm okay with
but
that.
innovators are special, Fred.
when a system
Oh, he threw the ball a lot, so they called it Air Coryell.
Sid
and he
Gilman.
gets into the Hall of Fame.
the Air
Gilman was
Coryell came out in what, the late 60s, early 70s, right? It's still in the NFL 50 years later. It's still a play calling system in the NFL. I mean, Ray Perkins is definitely a guy that is on my list as well. I mean, we still run the Earnhardt Perkins offense. We think. I have no idea what last year was, but we still run the Earnhardt Perkins offense. And you know, these are people that I think deserve it, but I think they deserve it. And I kind of think this way about Parcells. This is what the contributor category is all about, right? The contributor category is there for people like Don Coryell, like Dante Scarnecchia, like Ernie Adams that should not be on the player ballot, but deserve a seat in recognition.
See, I would
in the
like
Hall
it to
of
be
Fame.
done that way. I'd like that amendment. Coaches separate
Yeah.
as special contributors.
Maybe
I like that.
I know the contributor category is more Mr. Kraft's thing. Like maybe there's the committee then makes like a coaching category. Like obviously Bill I think is whole separate thing just like Brady. So we don't have to worry about that. But like guys like Ernie Adams, guys like Dante
doesn't like it.
Scarnecchia.
Mike not having it.
I just thought of something else.
Ivan,
Something
I think,
else,
you know.
an interesting thread here. Chuck Fairbanks, departure.
Very
Tumultuous.
the-
Bill Parcells.
The
departure,
similarities between
tumultuous.
Fairbanks and Parcells are eerie.
And
how similar
I'm
they
not
are.
going to say that things are going to end.
Yeah, a little different. 23 years, not 25, but a little different.
Yeah.
Not bad enough to probably color any of this kind of stuff, but at least there's probably. I mean, it's hard to imagine that it's going to be all sunshine and roses.
I don't care if
when
he
this one
murders
ends.
somebody on the way out. He gets in.
Right? No, of course. And I'm not saying that there's any debate.
If he murders
I'm
somebody,
just saying
maybe not.
that all
Agree to
those
disagree.
all those coaches had some degree of success here, you know? I mean, and so, and of course, Bill is above and beyond that, but all coaches, it doesn't ever really tend to end like,
It almost
hey, great
never ends
job.
well.
You know? It's
The
just
first
interesting.
iteration of greatness for the Patriots came when Fairbanks drafted
Everybody.
Hanna, Haynes, Claiborne, Morgan, Brock, Tim Fox, Grogan. The list goes on. The list goes on. That was the first great Patriots team. 76, Brock. 76, 77, 78. And then he took a college job and left. Like, that's a tough one to get past. So the similarities between Fairbanks and Parcells are eerie.
But there was so much more than just he took a college job, right? It was like, I mean, all kinds of things going on.
He took
with
a
him and
college job
Sullivans.
during the season.
Yeah.
And Billy Sullivan said,
Get out.
go.
And wasn't part of it also connected to Stingley and how that was all handled? Am I misremembering that? Like it's.
I don't
I
remember
don't think that
that.
had
There
anything
was-
to do with it.
yeah.
There were. I feel like
You
there
think
were,
that's
there
why
were
Fairbanks
bigger,
left because he was mad the way the organization handled Stingley?
I don't.
I hadn't heard that,
don't
if that's
quote me
true.
on it. I don't know. That might have been a Tales from the Sideline book thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be
Yeah.
right. I'm just saying I hadn't heard that.
I might be
mean, I was-
misremembering it, but
I
I
was
just
10.
I just seem to remember a lot of drama. Like it was just building between ownership and the coach, and it reached a certain
The
point. where
biggest
the coach was
problem
like, I'm
there,
out.
and no disrespect intended to the Sullivans because they were instrumental in bringing pro football, they didn't have enough money for a team.
Right.
Like, I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Back then,
but-
you didn't have the revenue sharing that you have now and all that.
So think about when we're getting ready for the draft in 2 weeks. Every year, the Patriots would get ready for the draft, and fans would say, I have my choice between Dussault and Lazar. Lazar's going to cost too much money. We're going to have to go with Dussault. That was literally a consideration
Just what they're going to cost.
every year. And then the offseason would come and training camp would come, and without fail, like John Hanna and Leon Gray would be holding out because they're not getting paid like NFL wage, And it all stemmed from, not because he was a bad guy, he just didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
He didn't have enough money to support an NFL team.
It's interesting though that just when you're talking about all the draft picks that that the Patriots had in the 70s. And then I think Bill Parcells, a lot of his draft picks are a reason why he's even in consideration for the Hall of Fame. And it just goes to show once again, like, how important the draft really is to turning this whole thing around now. I can't, we're 2 weeks away, and you're talking about Hannah and all these guys, and we're talking about all the guys Parcells drafted, and even the guys that are on the ballot as players with Mankins and Vrabel. And Vrabel, I know, is a different situation, but Mankins is a draft pick, and you just gotta be able to draft. For 100 years, it's been the same thing.
We did the draft preview podcast today. Review, sorry, Paul.
Don't apologize to me.
Evan brought up Fred Warner. It's such a great example, and you just mentioned these guys, and I think that as a franchise, you're kind of superstar hungry right now, and you had so many for so long, and it's just like, why can't we find one of these guys? Even if it's just that random 6-rounder who suddenly just it hasn't happened in a while, and it really needs to if they're going to turn it around.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline.
Freddie, I think we should record this, and now, because we've had the same argument for, I would say, at least 10 years
Just
running.
play it.
Yeah.
We should just play it.
On Parcells?
And now we're going to, to discuss Bill Parcells' candidacy in the Patriots Hall of Fame, we're going to take a look back.
Should we
to
use 2012's or 2016's argument?
Yeah,
we literally have said nothing different to each other on this topic in 10 years.
855-PATS-500, web radio at patriots.com. Let's get to some of the listeners. We'll go to Patty and Agawam first. What's up, Patty?
What's going on, everyone?
Hey.
Hey, Patty.
Hey.
Fred, you actually, last year, I don't know if you remember this, probably not, but you kind of egged me on to vote for Vrabel, and I did last year over Wilfork.
Thank you.
So I hope he gets in this year, too. And Paulie, you're right. Like, I don't know how Welker, he was one of one. I mean, you can't compare any of the guys that played the slot on this team, not even Edelman, because he would play on the outside. Brown, if you remember, early in his career would play on the outside. But if people are really, or if the voters were and the committee were holding the catch against Welker, to me it's asinine. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
And that's all I got to say.
All right. Thanks, Patty.
I didn't realize that he was a little surly, too.
Well, I would tell
he
you
could
this. If I would feel better if they're holding the drop against him than Evans' thing against him. He was kind of churlish with the media.
Right.
Like,
I just think
at
that
least,
politics
at least the
always
drop
comes
is
out.
the drop is a play. It's on field. It's his performance.
Should have been a better throw.
You're holding it, but you're holding his performance against him. I think it's ridiculous to do that for one play, but at least you're saying, you know what? He choked. When it was on the line, he needed to make that catch. I don't think of it that way. I think it was a bad throw. I think he could have caught it.
You had other chances.
And, yeah, you had a million other chances to win the game.
You're expecting a 5'8" slot receiver to adjust to a wrong shoulder throw.
Him. Yeah.
He thought he should have caught it. But anyway,
Of course he-
keep
of course
going,
he
Paul.
Of course he thought he should have caught
Keep
it.
going, Paul.
I think he should have caught it, too.
Yeah. Let's go to Roland in the UK. Oh, that's those English phones.
Good job,
Sean
Hardy.
in New York. What's up, Sean?
Good job,
those
Hardy.
New York phones.
You get like the ring like
Yeah, well, I think they're calling right back in, so they must have gotten disconnected. But I can at least understand or accept. I'm talking about his play on the field, and I didn't think it was up to standard. I think you're wrong, but that's your opinion.
At least,
Like to say,
yeah.
I didn't like the way you talked to me in the locker room.
I don't think
as I like to say, shut up, you child.
I don't think that's their argument. I think that's in their psyche though when it comes to it. You know what I
really
like?
like 'em.
I think it's in their deep rootedness of it of maybe they point to things like the drop and things like that are on the real tangible things, and then in the back of their head they're also thinking of, oh, remember that time that I tried to ask him a question in the locker room and he totally blew me off? Like, what an a-hole, you know?
Right.
Wes Welker was such a special kind of player. We were doing our project this week, and some of the old PFWs were lying around, and there was a PFW from June 2007, and it just took me back to my excitement as a fan of you had all these new players, and Welker was such a surprise to me. The way just the player he was, everybody knows, but his crazy eyes, when he would be back to return a punt, and you'd look at him, and he's just got these white blue eyes that are wide open, and not in the the what's his name,
Rashay Caldwell.
Rashay Caldwell way. That's kind of scary, but he was so intense. And one of my favorite Wes Welker plays was I think he caught like a third down pass down in the red zone against Indy in 2007 to like seal that game. And then the cameras like caught him like, F you, like screaming at one of the Colts players, like, just as they had iced the game. So he's one of the players. It's such a shame to me that everything he did so well just gets kind of forgot. And you talk about how he was in the locker room or the foot jokes. And, I don't know if you guys agree. I know a lot of people said Super Bowl 42, had they pulled it out, that he, maybe likely would have been the MVP.
I mean, 11 for 103 is good in a key spot. Is that good?
That is good.
Evan, is that good? I mean,
Not good enough, Paul.
Sometimes you have the metrics I don't
have.
Julian
Edelman level, but
it didn't make that.
It's one of my great disappointments for that player that I love so much, that just brought such character to the team and just gave them such a special element on offense. And now it's, you just talk about the stupid stuff that doesn't count. So, I mean, he should be into put him right after.
I also, along his personality lines, the Wally Pipp thing.
Who? What?
I'm telling you,
he didn't get it for the longest time.
These things stand out to people. It's crazy.
Well, Bill,
but
Bill, didn't like some of the things that Welker did. I think Welker was like, he wasn't like Vrabel, and like a ball busting wise ass, but he would talk back to Bill, and he would say things. He wasn't, always someone that you could control verbally, the Rex Ryan thing and other thing, so Bill would always look for an opportunity to, get back at him too. But I don't know if that has anything to do with fan voting, but I'm he wasn't always Bill's favorite player.
So, and I agree that these are just like a couple of fans, and not necessarily indicative of how everybody feels, but this is, my notes, unbeknownst to me at the time, that Welker wasn't even going to make the finalist ballot when I wrote my notes on Monday. I thought it was he headed the list,
right?
And he's not even a finalist. So I got some blowback from people after I posted. Good group of guys, but Welker is the least deserving of the three. That's one. For dropping the game-winning Super Bowl catches.
Catches?
Question mark.
Plural.
The drop in the Super Bowl was huge. Then he leaves to join Denver in free agency, and his cheap shot on Talib. No thanks.
The cheap shot on Talib.
I forgot about that one.
This is what you're dealing with.
I forgot about
because
that.
Because the petulant child of a coach had the audacity to say that it was a cheap shot when they ran a crossing route and tried to set a pick, and it blew up in their face. Which is how I don't know, where did they learn that? Like setting picks and rub routes.
That's a good one.
When people bring up the drop, though, you brought up Riche Caldwell. That was a drop.
Yeah, that was a drop.
Right? That was a...
It's that Indy?
Yeah, an Indy in the end zone.
And there are some, by the way, there are some that advocate for Wes Welker, too. I'm just reading you some of the really negative ones.
Now he coaches the Dolphins. Mwah.
Mankin should be over Welker every day. Someone laughing at you and I arguing. You have to be joking. Just on the Welker, that's it. You have to be joking.
That he should be in? Oh, my God.
How about the Pats have to get into the playoffs and win a Super Bowl before he gets in?
What?
I'm just telling you, this is what I get.
Oh.
Then a guy advocating for Larry Izzo.
I gotta admit,
I was devastated by the Super Bowl drop.
It
just goes on and on.
The complaining about the Talib thing was one of the first moments for me of being kind of like, what?
I have always, and Fred can back me on this, I always sort of like chuckled at Bill, like, you guys know the story. Very early on, he got upset with me and whatever. He never, ever treated me differently. Like, to the whole point of, he was mean to me. I'm not going to vote for him. Like, he never treated me differently after that. It was 2003. It was a long time ago, right? I never felt like there was anything different. I never, ever was affected by him. The number one most often asked question that I get when I speak at schools and classes and stuff like that is, what does Belichick really like to cover? And I always say he's very easy to cover. He's the most consistent person I've ever seen in terms of the way he deals with the media. I never, ever worried that Mike was getting something from him that I wasn't. Because unless you were like a real national guy and they were leaking stuff for whatever reason, no one was getting anything anymore. Now, it's kind of changing a little bit now, but I always felt like he was a really consistent guy. That comment after that loss to Denver bothered me because it was just a patently false statement. How many times do I say to you, Fred, he never lies?
Right.
They're always like,
Nuance.
or, disingenuous by omission, lies by omission, context. That was a flat-out lie that he tried to get everybody to buy because at that time he could still absolutely do no wrong, and that really, really bothered me. That comment after that game, like a cheap shot. The worst cheap – how did he say – the worst cheap shot in the history of football? Something – I'm paraphrasing. It was something like that because Welker was running a rub route, and they collided.
Roland from the UK is back on the line. What's up, Roland? Oh, come on. What's going on here? All right, I'm afraid to hit this. Todd's in Greenville. What's up, Todd? There he is.
You know what? I've been listening to all this, and I was listening the other day, and I just kind of thought about something. You know what? I got nothing to complain about. I started cheering for the team in the the early 70s, and I've had 20 years of bliss with Bill and Brady and stuff like that. And you know what? I think I've just been able to finally say it. I don't care. I'll just see what happens and go from there. I think that's what we need to do as a fan base because we've been spoiled. We should be happy we've been spoiled and just wait and see what happens. Who knows? I think that should be the new theme. Just wait and see.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
Wait
Bye
and
now.
see.
Wait and see.
I'm gonna wait and see for 2 weeks, and then we'll see.
Yeah. Edwin's in Virginia. What's up, Edwin?
Hello.
Hi.
So I got a couple of comments. So I believe Mike Vrabel and Wes Welker, they should definitely be in the Patriots Hall of Fame.
Amen.
People have to kind of put personal feelings aside, and I think that they should both be in. Their contributions to the franchise. As far as the draft, I'm wondering what you all's take would be on Bill Belichick going kind of an unorthodox route. So, everyone's expecting, you're going to get offensive weapons. The league is very offensively focused right now. But we know Bill likes to do unorthodox things. So I think, this current cornerback class is one of the best in a while. So traditionally, if you have one shutdown corner, you can shut down one side of the field, that would work.
I don't think it would be unorthodox for him to pick a cornerback.
They have two-star receivers. So let's say the Patriots double dip. They get a guy, let's say Gonzalez falls to them. And then let's say a guy like Deontay Banks or Joey Porter.
Those two?
Past pick 20.
So you're saying two cornerbacks?
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
No. Into the 20s to get another cornerback.
Okay, no.
Two cornerbacks.
So they can have.
That might be a little unorthodox.
We're trading up to get a second cornerback?
This is just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Let's say if you have the potential of getting two Stephon Gilmores. Let's say they have a couple of these guys highly rated like that. So you
could have a boat, or you could have the mystery box. It could even be a boat.
Potentially. Yeah. And, you could have the potential of
Stephon Gilmore's a top 10 pick. We're getting two now in the top 25.
We are.
What if you could guarantee both of them are Pro Bowl level cornerbacks?
Nope.
You
still wouldn't do it?
Oh,
nope.
I would do it, but it doesn't work like that.
I think you could take a swing on it. But you don't need two first. You could.
Thanks,
you might get a guy in the second or third.
What if you could guarantee me that I got a Pro Bowl cornerback and a Pro Bowl wide receiver with my first two picks?
No, I'm just saying that. But from an unorthodox level, he's right. It would be unorthodox if they picked two cornerbacks in the first round. But there's an upside to that.
That was a silly call.
There is an upside to making your defense the best in the league.
I just think that there's a certain.
Is there an upside to that?
I think there's a point of no return with defense, and you can't play that good at you can't be that good at defense. Where nobody's scoring on us
It's
anymore.
not hockey. Your goal can't be to allow fewer points than the other team score.
Right. And with the offense, you gotta invest.
In that league, you have to be able to score some points.
Sure. But we're going. We got Bill O'Brien now. We got Schuster.
We're really counting on Bill O'Brien to do a lot.
We sure are.
Well, those articles are out now.
He's
the pressure that's on Bill O'Brien.
I don't think there's pressure on him necessarily, but there's just. I think the pressure's still squarely on the other Bill, but
Yeah, because he didn't buy the groceries. I mean, to that point, like
Right.
Bill O'Brien, I mean, he's kind of been handed what he's been handed. Like, I think more people are going to be looking towards the personnel than him immediately. But I mean,
the
far.
only way that pressure shifts to Bill O'Brien is if they do draft a receiver.
The pressure this year is on Belichick and Mac Jones.
Yeah. Right now, Bill O'Brien just has to fix Mac Jones.
Right.
Like, somewhat. Get him back to the way he was.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't do anything to improve the offense, why is he supposed to get any more out of it than Josh
Correct.
did?
Right. If he gets back, I mean, I know you say it's got to be better than 2021, but I think that's the bar for Bill O'Brien is to get it to 2021 at a minimum.
Now, who knows? But I agree. There's some heat on Bill O'Brien because I think the way the fans are
putting it all
I think
on
the
him.
undue expectations that is he worth 2 wins? Is he worth 3 wins?
Right. Well, but that's what he's been left with because of just kind of a the average free agency period.
All right, we're going to take a break. Faith, you ready for that? All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
The network America relies on, and the official 5G network of the New England Patriots.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then, we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week, so head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible!
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, Now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Verizon, the network America relies on, and the official 5G network of the New England Patriots.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
And now, great moments in history.
But that's my point.
But they didn't.
Like, I think Levy caught the wave there. He had a great team, great players. They were.
Oh my
Whoa.
God!
Sorry.
Whoa!
They
the
were
most unnecessary one ever.
That came out of nowhere.
They were loaded. We'll get that on post. Get that on post.
That's another great moment from.
Yeah, I just kind of blurted that out.
What was it about Mar Levy that brought out the F?
No, it's just like I meant to say they were effing loaded, but I didn't need to use the effing.
He was so calm too. Like it was great.
All right, back to the emails. Webradio@patriots.com. Rick near Louisville, Kentucky says, all this talk of Welker being an a-hole to the media has me to pose this question. Could you name the 3 biggest a-holes you've had to deal with that wore Patriots uniforms?
Nope.
It really goes to show you how perception can fool you. I never would have guessed Welker was an a-hole.
I didn't say he was an a-hole because I can't speak from experience. I said that he was tough.
Yeah, he could be persnickety.
Yeah.
Brian Stork was one of the biggest jerks.
Heard a lot of that.
Yeah,
Except
real like I don't know like
guy.
if someone told him don't be nice to the media, but he took it to a next level. Like next level stuff. And I don't know what he's like otherwise. I just know to us he was a real jerk.
Yeah.
Brewski could be mercurial. You get him one day, he'd offer you pizza. The next day, he's, get the hell away from me. He could be tough.
I just think a lot of football players have that edge to them, and I don't really hold that against them. I
don't hold it against them. I'm just saying that's the way it was.
I just find it hard, guys who just aren't interesting and don't give you anything. And you're trying to. There's a lot of those guys that just. That's why when you get somebody like a Matthew Judon who has just personality, and you know when he's going to talk that there's going to be some fun going on, and he's going to have something to say. Whereas some of the other guys, they're just like, no, I'm just getting ready for the game. I'm just studying. Like that's it's like there's nothing there. It's so much harder. I mean, yeah, Max, he's probably a prime one of just, give us a little something. I mean, I know it's part of the job at quarterback. I mean, Tom was similarly kind of guarded. But you just like to see a little bit about what makes you people, and it's off the field stuff that
Robin says, worst show ever. It's draft season. Josh in Hatfield says, this is one of the best shows I've heard. Could listen to you guys talk about these things day in and day out. That said, the closer we get to this draft and the more range I see prospects getting, for example, Gonzalez in play for the Patriots, according to Kuiper, I'm actually more and more excited. I'm hoping for one of Gonzalez or Witherspoon to drop, or a receiver whose name rhymes with Powers.
I want to get hurt again.
If for no other reason than the excitement factor. I took Friday off to listen to you guys all night. Do what you guys always do because you're the best. You should have taken Thursday off.
Yeah, what? Maybe he meant Thursday.
Thursday is for night one, by the way.
But you can't go one with Friday, too.
And I get the excitement that comes with the draft, and I have it, too, just like everybody else does. But you know what? I can't think, just in terms of those emails, the dueling emails, I can't think of anything I'd rather listen to less than some. Well, do you think Gonzalez the first round, or do they go Flowers?
Don't worry, because Catch-22 will be all draft. People that want the draft just
but what I'm saying is I don't have any problem with all draft. I understand it's necessary. It's a necessary evil in my mind. But in terms of listening to people talk about different topics, the draft would be so far down the list of things that I want to hear about. Unless. Well, special guest today is Matt Groh and Bill Belichick, and they're going to talk about the draft. Now I'm in.
Yeah.
Can we put?
I have someone who knows what they're talking about.
But I think
I'm in.
And I think to your point, you guys are both voters. We all have lived here our whole lives. We know this team inside and out. So I think for the people this is where else are you going to go for that first hour? You're not going to get to hear from two of the voters. So and that's why it works well. That's why you got first hour's this, and then Evan and
I'm laughing though, Mike, because. Probably second on the list of things I'd like to hear about the least.
Hall of Fame
talk.
I'm with you on that.
I go with Fred and I are very like-minded when it comes to the Hall of Fame, which is kind of interesting because we disagree on so many things. What's the rule of thumb, Fred? Small hall, you know it when you see it.
Right.
When you watch a guy play, you know if he's a Hall of Famer.
If you have to have a big discussion for a guy, he shouldn't be in.
Yeah, but when you get to the three, then there's some wiggle room to
and
compare and contrast.
Team Hall of Fame as opposed to pro football, totally different entity. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is for the greats of the greats, the most talented, impactful players that the league had. Team Hall of Fame, there should be different criteria.
Somebody came into my office this morning saying that Devin McCourty should be in Canton. And I said, no way. He goes, he dominated during his – I go, dominated? And he started pulling out these stats about how many games he played. That's not domination.
I love a guy. He's not Ed Reed.
Right. I think
domination is related to games played.
Yeah.
Rodney, to me, has a much better case than Devin.
Yeah.
He absolutely does.
For the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
The one thing that always bumps me, though, is it's a Hall of Fame. And that's what I always like, the word fame. It's your most famous people. It doesn't necessarily – I know the implication is that it's the best, but
it's
it is
the best, though.
The Hall of Fame. So – there is always a small part of me that says,
Deuce lobbying to change the name.
Yeah.
The Pro Football Hall
of
Fame.
the shrines that honor
it's not the
our
Hall of
athletes.
Stats. It's not the Hall of Stats.
The Hall of Performance.
They didn't do themselves any favors with the safety position in particular in the last 5 to 10 years because there's some guys that are in now.
John Lynch.
That Devin has just as good of a resume as, if not better.
That's right.
So if you're going to let John Lynch, if you're going to let Brian Dawkins, if you're going to let those guys into the Hall of Fame.
Brian Dawkins I really liked. But I won't be mad if, obviously I love Devin McCourty, so I'm not going to be mad if he gets – but if you want to talk about him as a Hall of Fame candidate, I can listen to that.
Oh, sure. But, I've always been brought up that the criteria for the Pro Football Hall of Fame is you dominated at your position during your era, which, makes – concession that the game changes. So, it's during your era. So, and I think that's fair, but I still think it's a high bar that people still come under.
I don't know if
You
he
know?
dominated, but Devin in his peak for 4 or 5 years was a top free safety in the league. You know, he was top
but,
3 or 4.
But I think there's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame who did not dominate during their era, and that's
Yeah.
the problem.
John Lynch.
Well, okay, I'm
That was-
saying. He
John
knows
Lynch.
I like John
Fred,
Lynch.
Fred likes John Lynch.
But
I'm not even.
Who's
This
the guy that they
this
let
is not
in
even about
from
John
Green
Lynch. This
Bay?
is just a shot
was
at
that
Fred.
last year?
Who?
The Packers.
Leroy Butler.
Yeah, Leroy Butler.
Right.
Give me a break.
You know, so
Leroy
I would
Butler.
say all of those guys were really good players. I don't know if they're Hall of Famers.
Like
you know,
Ed-
and Devin's a-
Dawkins, Devin. Like I would put them
Devin's
all.
a really good player.
Really good player.
Like for me, in this era, if you didn't come close to Ed Reed, then you don't get in as safety.
Well, Ed Reed is the best safety maybe
Okay,
of all
he
time.
dominated in his era.
But he was.
How about Paul Amalo?
I was just gonna say.
Troy Polamalu.
No, Joe Polamalu.
Hall of Famer.
Troy. Yeah,
Joe.
I mean,
nah.
certainly Polamalu was flashy. He'd have those big plays where he'd jump over the pile and all that stuff.
Great player.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to
just
put
because
him in.
just because Brady owned him doesn't mean he wasn't a great player.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer, 100%. Not even a hesitation.
I agree.
But if you had to look
Although
at the last,
someone yelled at me, I can't agree with you as much as I do.
who do you think of the legit Patriots Hall of
yeah, I saw
Famers
that.
though? Brady, Gronk.
Oh, for Patriots,
For the last 20 years, legit Pro Football Hall of Famers that we know.
Gronk, Vinatieri, Brady.
Seymour's in, obviously.
Seymour's already in, and now I have to really think hard. You know,
Yeah.
because of my criteria.
there might be guys that get the Super Bowl push, like maybe a Will Fork, who Bill wrote letters on his behalf and stuff like that. I kind of look at it the same way. McCourty, we just talked about. There's guys in now that I think Devin McCourty can say I was as good as that guy.
That's Rodney for me. I think Rodney
Rodney
is at the
to me
top
should
of this
be in.
list with these players that should be in.
But Rodney should be in more for what he did in his career than
Yeah.
as a
Right.
Patriot.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
He gets the Patriot push.
I just feel like some of these like questionable guys like Vince Wilfork or Rodney or even like a Dante Hightower, if they were on another dynasty team from like 30 or 40 years ago, we're first ballot Hall of Fame, right? So I at some point that has to take into consideration, right, that these guys from like the 70s Steelers or the Niners teams or the Cowboys teams, like all those guys just waltzed into
I just
the Hall
don't know
of Fame.
enough. I don't like Jack Ham and Jack Lambert. Were they better than like Dante Hightower?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't know enough.
Yeah, I know to
make that argument.
NFL Films really made them look good.
It just feels like those guys are equivalent to they were the best defensive players on teams that won multiple Super Bowls. I don't know enough about how dominant they were either, but a guy like Vince Wilfork was the best defensive player on teams that that won
Lynn
Super Bowls.
Swann. I don't think he was better than Stanley Morgan.
Right.
No.
But Lynn Swann, like you said, waltzed in.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't. But he had the high-profile plays in the
Yeah.
big moments.
I think Edelman will be an interesting, I don't think he'll get in. I don't really think he's a Hall of Famer, but I think that his playoff performance is something you can't ignore what he's done, but is that ultimately going to be enough? Maybe it'll be like a reverse thing. We have such a problem here where it's a logjam of Patriots trying to get in the Patriots Hall of Fame, but maybe things will clear out a little bit elsewhere around the league to get into the regular Pro Football.
All right, let's get back to the Ace Ticket Hotline, 855-PATS-500. We'll start with Scott and Wellesley. What's up, Scott?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hey, Scott.
I have two questions. First, I wanted to question, with the draft coming up, I wanted to ask Paul, looking back at the 2019 draft, now that Damian Harris was signed basically for a deal less than a coal miner, and Stidham got shipped off without even getting a chance to get a job with the Raiders. He got sent over to Denver, and Bailey obviously got cut. Would you say this is the worst draft in the history of the Patriots? And after you answer that question, I would ask Mike and Evan and Fred a Mac Jones question.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the worst draft ever. Unfortunately, they have others to pick from.
I mean,
they struggled. They had a 5-year stretch where they really struggled.
I would connect it to what we talked about last show with Evan, where that was, I think 2019 was your last chance with Tom Brady. If you didn't hit on that draft and get a really good player to kind of re-energize the offense and give him something to work with. So in that regard,
strangely enough, you blamed it on Brady.
It might be.
Why? Why did you blame it on Brady, Mike?
No, that's just me.
All-
That's me busting balls like I do.
know.
We all have our show personalities. There are probably a large portion of our fan base that think that I hate Tom Brady. Like,
Well, there's a large portion of our fan base that thinks that I hate Bill, so we're good.
Well. Sean's in Vancouver. Hey, Sean.
Hey, I'm so happy that Scar's in the Patriots Hall of Fame. I really appreciate that. He deserves it. If I were on the committee, the Patriots Hall of Fame selection committee, I'd be looking to Dante Scarnecchia the most in terms of making decisions, because he's been there for so long and knows these guys, has seen how they play, and I would really respect his opinion, I think.
Oh, sure. You know, and he was on the committee this year. So
yeah,
Ernie Adams too, right?
Yeah.
I listen. I do. I listen to everybody.
I mean,
Because you never know when someone's going to say something that you never thought of.
I mean, it sounds stupid, but wouldn't it be great to have Bill on the committee? Like, I mean, talk about a guy who provided some insight.
The only thing about it, though, is, you know, whether it's Ernie or Dante.
Fred's going to say what I was going to say.
They have the bias, too.
Yeah.
You know, like, every guy that they coach was really great.
Now, I do
you
think Dante has a little bit better perspective, but just because of the breadth. Like, 30-plus years, 6 different head coaches, you know,
See,
on and on and on.
I'd love to hear his perspective on Parcells, because he was here right before.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Now, some people in the room didn't think it was as glowing. I thought, based on the situation, and we all know what the situation was. We spent 45 minutes talking about the situation, right? I thought he was pretty positive on a guy that would have been easy to say, well, not committed, or, you know, ego sometimes
Picked off
got
to
in the
Desmond
way.
Howard.
You know,
He's got the 30,000-foot view. You know, he was here when it was terrible. He was filling in for the coaches in 2-win seasons, and then and now he's here with Bill. I mean, he saw the whole thing.
And I spoke to somebody on the committee who didn't feel like he was overly glowing. Fred, what were your thoughts? You heard him.
I
don't remember.
I thought it was measured.
I thought it was measured too, but I was expecting a rip job.
Oh, come on.
I
We
was.
would never do that.
I was expecting a rip job.
No.
I thought it was pretty positive.
Wow. No, I knew.
I think if you asked another guy in that committee, it would have been different.
Yeah.
See, I think that's why, like, the email you got earlier where people were saying, like, this was a ridiculous list. Like, understand who are the people talking about these guys. Like, the people that work with them, that were, you know, witness to this whole thing up close with them. I mean, as much as the media writes about them and interviews them, like, these are people who are on the football side of it, too. Like, they saw that aspect of it, which is probably more important.
All right, let's go to Willem and Philem. What's up, William?
Hey, Fred, how you doing?
All right.
All right. I have to let off some frustration with this team. First of all, I don't know about Evan yet. I do hate Bill now at this point.
Uh-oh.
I mean, we're 4 seasons in.
What's your favorite call?
Tom has left since 2018, 19, if I'm not mistaken. Your roster stinks, and all you did was swap out for Jude from Jacoby Myers to Juju, and also for Jonnu. I'm sorry, John. I'm saying right here,
Jonnu Smith to Mike Gesicki.
Mike Gesicki.
Yep.
Seriously.
Yep.
That's it. And then you got somebody, James Robinson. That's it. So you're not gonna go all in on Mac. You got this rookie deal that you wasted basically over. Let me see what his deal gonna be over with at some point. What you got him like maybe next year, and that's it.
Well, they could have him for the next 3 years if they want him. He's under contract for the next 3. You have control for the next 3 years.
So you got control for the next 3 years, and you still ain't put no talent around that man. That young man's in the facility now. He's trying to get better.
I think
and you don't want to load up on because you don't believe in him. I mean, what are we doing here? Seriously, I think Bill should be removed from as a GM.
Will you?
Because you don't know what you.
Will you change your opinion if they draft a receiver with that 14th pick?
But Fred, no.
Okay.
Not just because of a receiver.
I respect
you need to
the
do more than
honesty.
that. Receiver, all that. The receiver part, that's where he really stinks at. I don't know what is so hard about drafting a receiver. I do not understand Bill's philosophy on how to draft a receiver. It's not that damn hard. Sorry, but I'm passionate, but I'm damn frustrated.
Okay. Well, what if because I hear you on the draft with receivers. What if they trade for Jerry Jeudy on draft weekend? I'm just throwing all of the things to make you feel better.
Right. Is there something?
Could they do anything?
Is there something that would make you feel better? And then what if they did that?
Thank you. That's a better way of putting it.
It's not about making me feel better, Paul. It's about making us all feel better.
No, but we're talking to you now.
Have you seen? Huh?
We're talking to you now, though. I mean, like, what would make you say, okay, they're trying to help Mac?
Okay, you could start, like you said, as far as a receiver. Okay? I guess, but Raph is JSN because he's basically the best between him and, I guess, maybe Zay Flowers. But I would say JSN, I would go with him all the way. You get JSN, he's better than all your receivers right now. And that's a damn shame. He's a rookie. I mean, how does that look?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's take him at 14 and see how it looks.
To be fair, though, like that,
I like him.
And I'm the last one to defend this point with the Patriots, but there's a lot of teams that take receivers in the first round, and he's instantly their best receiver. That's why they took him.
They should
be. Right?
Unless they already have.
When the Eagles took Devontae Smith a couple of years ago, he was instantly their best receiver on their team.
Jamar Chase,
that's
Waddle.
sort of how that works. But other than that, he's preaching to the choir.
Floyd in Redford, Michigan says, Mr. Fred, I'm going to need you to turn to your right, look Mr. Paul Perillo in his eyes, and tell him he was right about Teflon Mac. A report came out that apparently some Patriot players weren't happy about Mac Jones being mentioned in trade talks. Question, have you ever, and I mean ever, seen an NFL quarterback defended more by the media, his teammates, and half the fan base than Mac Jones? I have never seen anything like it. And P.S., can we see more of the 4'11", Tamara Brown? She was rolling Tuesday. She was assertive, made strong points, and didn't use too many words. Keep up the good work, Tamara.
Good job, Tamara.
All right. She didn't use a lot of words.
I would say with the Mac thing, like, in fairness, like maybe you've never seen anybody get defended like that. In fairness, I've never seen anybody saddled with a defensive coordinator as an offensive coordinator either.
Right.
I've never seen it. So, even though he was Floyd's on my side, I would still agree that I think there's more. I don't think it's universal, but there's a lot of people that sort of gave Mac a pass.
It reminds me of Fred's used car, in these unprecedented times for Mac Jones. Every COVID ad was.
I would also say that nothing grinds my gears quite like the anonymous player scout league exec says.
Right.
Like, what does that even mean? Like, and so we have to have a player in the locker room tell us that Mac Jones has had a short straw, right?
Brian Morey.
He used to be a league exec.
We have to have some anonymous player on the roster, who the heck knows who it is, tell us that Mac Jones was saddled with a bad situation last year. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Obvious.
I take these things, not surprisingly to you guys, I take these things in a little bit of a different light because I don't often get bogged down into the specific of the detail. Like, okay, so some guy, like to Evan's point, some guy thinks that they did Mac wrong. Okay, whatever. To me, the takeaway, if true, is within the past couple of weeks, they're still talking about last year. They're still, this is still a topic of conversation in the locker room. The players that are still here are still talking about last year. That ain't good. Yeah. Like, I don't, like I said, I don't fixate on what they say. The fact that they're saying it at all is not a good sign.
We should be on to 2023.
I agree 100%, and I think that this is on the head coach. Personally, this is probably my biggest gripe with Bill out of all of it, to be honest with you, because he hasn't drafted yet, so I can't get on him for the draft yet. Talk to me in 2 weeks.
Just wait.
But
I'm hearing Evan will have a take 2 weeks from tonight.
But the biggest gripe that I have with him is that he has made it a story still.
Yep.
Every time he has gotten the opportunity to talk, he continues to be gruff about it, and he continues the story.
To generalize. And not.
And we talk a lot about, obviously things that we can't possibly know for certain, but we ask opinion. If you had to guess, do you think Bill has openly discussed this with the team and said, you know what? Probably didn't put us in the best position. You don't have to say, like, rip Matt Patricia and say, listen, I tried something that was a little unconventional and it didn't work, and I apologize for that. We're going to move on. That's behind us. We're going to move on. Do you
And
think
here's Bill O'Brien.
If you had to say,
I don't think he has because of what the whispers are. If
See,
he had,
I agree.
I think it would have been shut down.
I agree, and
Yep.
but that should be, to me, that should be part of it. And I don't need Bill to say like a complete mea culpa. Like I was.
Yeah, I don't.
wrong.
I don't need him doing that.
But what I think is important is for him to say, last year is in the past. There's things that all of us wish we could do over again. We can't. That's over. We're moving forward. No more last year. We're moving forward. But we have clean slate.
Which is so him.
That's
It's
to
so
me.
easy.
That needs to be said.
Yeah,
and if I had to guess, that hasn't been said.
What he needs to, what I would say if I was him, is say, listen, last year is what it is. Just want to say, I'm always going to do what I think is in the best interest of the team. Now, is that always going to be 100%? No, but you have my word that I'll always do what's in the best interest of the team. We're on to 2023.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just wonder logistically.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Someone give me an example of a coach who openly did something that wasn't in the best interest of the team.
yeah,
that he knew was in the worst interest of the team.
I know, but that's
another example or a example.
He really does hate him.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify.
I legitimately think, as misguided as it was, that Bill thought it could work.
I think he did too.
Of course.
Like, I just want to know who's the guy that said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Perillo.
Yeah.
Because he'll screw it up royally. I'm going to make him in charge of the offense.
Well, right. And so
obviously
at
he's
the end of
always
the
going to
day-
do what's in the best interest of the team.
Right.
But he ain't always right.
No, and that's what he's saying. And at the end of the day, you get rid of a coach because he's just making bad decisions. You're not saying that he's doing it maliciously. He's just not doing it. You know.
And I think
I
the
might
fact
not like
that
him, but Fred's getting rid of him just for the record.
right,
No,
right,
no.
And the fact that the two coaches in question are still not gone. Let's put it that way.
Or in limbo, at least.
I mean, one of them is here.
One of them is in limbo.
The other one's
One
in
of them's
limbo.
in limbo.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is
That's
proof
weird.
that hasn't happened.
Right.
I always
The
think-
Fred,
Yeah.
Speech
Yep.
to the team hasn't happened.
I
Or
just-
those guys wouldn't.
I don't know if it needs to be to the whole team, but I
at the
would
very
really
at the very least, it needed to be
Well,
the max.
like
Right.
J.J. Smith-Schuster doesn't need to hear that.
Right.
You know.
No, but I would really, really, really hope that Bill and Mac, behind closed doors, have had a meeting in Bill's office where Bill says, "Look, the rumors out there are just, even if they are true, they're not true. Like, we're not trading you.
You're not going anywhere. You're the quarterback.
You're the quarterback. We." We got to move on from last year. It didn't work out. It wasn't the right thing to do. He doesn't even need to say I was wrong. Just it didn't work out.
Right.
We're on to this year. Billy's going to coach you up now, and we're going to be fine. Just if that happened, then fine. But the evidence that we have is that hasn't happened, and I don't think that it's all of this stuff that's coming out at times. I don't think is just from Bill's camp. I think some of the stuff that has come out has been from Mac Jones's camp.
It could be.
I'm not necessarily saying the trade rumors. I know some people have gone there. I don't necessarily think that, but I think that all this stuff that keeps coming out about how he's here every day and he's working out at, Reese had in his Sunday notes that he's been using the field house to throw.
Where do you think that's coming from?
Personally, I think it's a combination of Mac and Mr. Kraft. And I think the two of those,
I would agree, and I think that's synonymous. By the way,
it's
that's Mac's camp.
It's a push, right? And I think that it's a way to say he's here doing all the right things. He's here working his butt off to get better. What's the head coach doing to make the team better?
That was something I said to the guys yesterday when we were hanging out. I said, I think it would be a nice strategy for Mac to come out and publicly admit, I didn't handle it great last year. Just say that. And I think it in some ways kind of makes the heads then turn to the coach and say, well, would you be surprised to find out that Max showed up one day and Bill O'Brien was just there and he's the coach now and nobody really told him? That wouldn't surprise me. Everything you laid out makes total sense. It makes sense for
Mac
Bill.
Jones found out that Bill O'Brien's the offensive coordinator the same way we did.
Yeah, like I mean, like I wouldn't be that surprised
Via
given
press
how
release.
like he just comes in and like, oh, hey, and so it's true. Yeah, it's like. It wouldn't surprise me. Everything Evan said is true. Everything Paul said is true, and that's so Bill. And it's something that I've admired about him. I've said it before. It's just being able to focus in the moment and put the past behind you and not rely on it for better or worse. Those things are going by the wayside left and right, and we can talk about other examples of it as well.
He can do it. Like the reason that, and I've said this a million times about him, his ability to, the most important thing is tomorrow's practice.
Yes. Yep.
I think he could still do that. That's why I haven't cut ties with the coach. I still think he can coach, but I don't think I don't think he understands that times change and players change, and I think attitudes change. And quite frankly, there's probably a little bit more sensitivity in this locker room than there was 20 years ago, right? It's just a matter of it's just like the sign of the times. It doesn't make it right or wrong.
I agree with you 100%, and I also would say that he might be able to turn the page to, tomorrow's practice, but the press conference he held at the owners' meetings tells me that he's still pissed.
Yeah,
it had it written all over his face when he was sitting there talking about these things, and so he's got to move on too. Everybody's got to move on.
Everybody does,
and I think Mac would have that moment that Mike is describing of last year. I didn't handle myself great. I actually think that he has that type of accountability in him.
Yep.
But I
can
think
see him doing that the first time he talks to us.
And I'm not saying publicly that Bill needs to go first.
No.
But privately, Bill needs to go first on that point because I think that Mac might need to be a little bit swayed and pushed
Imagine if
over
he
that.
came out, Mac, and said, last year I could have handled myself better, but believe it or not, I learned a lot and mostly about myself. And that makes me even more ready for this season.
You'd get a lot of people.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
People would be like, oh,
Yes.
you know.
You're right.
Could there be any more adoration? Anyway.
From me, there could be.
What if, I'm just thinking like that whole locker room dynamic, how we started this. Would it stun you if, Kendrick Bourne is, talking to Juju Smith-Schuster and is like, you won't believe the poop that went on here last year. I mean, they were doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have seen how they were trying to teach the Shanahans, whatever. Would that stun you?
No.
It made me think of it when you said, Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't need to hear Bill,
right?
Take some accountability. But you just wonder, Mike
It's still
Gesicki's
being talked about.
Holy, Mike Gesicki goes in and listens to what went on last year and I can't believe we lost to this team, even with Skylar Thompson playing quarterback.
They were a mess.
I do think, though, that this also, the whole just energy around the team, if you hit on a draft pick in the first round and that guy comes in here day one of minicamp, day one of training camp, and Zay Flowers just dunking on everybody, that all of this type of stuff will go away.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien's here.
It's great.
They have a great receiver now that everybody's, punching
sometimes you get that,
the right
that new
weight
guy.
class. Yeah.
I don't know about any of this crap. I'm just going out and playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what callers like William are discounting. They're already giving up on the draft, and it hasn't even happened yet. There are drafts, I think, for all of us that will exist that we will be like, I think they nailed it. Will they? We'll see how the guys work out, but at least when we're talking Saturday's show and the bulk of the draft is done.
Now, I will say that, Fred. I always say, you'll get you won't get universal approval, sight unseen again.
No.
Like you did in the old days.
Well, I think that's a big thing, Paul, that I keep going back to, and I'm trying to think in my head in between this conversation of other bold, unorthodox decisions that Bill has made, and I know there are probably examples that I can't think of off the top of my head, but this was by far the most unorthodox, the most bold, and it was risky because of where you're at as a franchise. I mean, you're kind of teetering on that edge of how do you get back up to that hump?
That's the biggest thing to me as well.
Tough time to make that call. That's just so. I believe we can do it. I believe we're going to be able to put together not just in his mind, not just a functional offense, but an offense that's going to take us to another new level with Mac Jones. And
yep.
Justin in L.A. writes, with all this drama being brought to the forefront, I just keep thinking back to Fred saying Trevor Lawrence should sue the Jags for how he was handled. If anyone has a case, it's Mac. I know it's just jokes, but this is a complete mess. Similar to Evan, I had my 3 strikes for Bill, except my first one was the handling of the Eagles Super Bowl. I don't mind Coach Bill, but my question is, do you think Kraft would take the GM reins back from Bill? And do you think Bill would go for it? I feel someone like a Nick Casario was a good balance for Bill.
It's Paul's guy.
They had some of their worst drafts
like
when
Nick.
Nick was here.
What were we talking about him yesterday?
Well, that was
a rumor.
Fred.
Like somebody said at the combine, they were talking
John
about
Not just
McClain.
anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
John
when
McClain
he
said
talks,
that
you
there
listen.
was a
Whispers.
rumor at the combine that
McClain.
suggested that after the draft, Nick Caserio will be coming back to Foxborough.
Maybe
He'll be getting let go in Houston.
Did somebody tell Matt Groh?
Did anybody tell Matt Patricia?
And the now, in fairness and full disclosure, John McClain also said he did not believe said rumor. He did not believe that would happen. He said that the McNairs are happy with Nick Caserio, and he won't be going anywhere.
That part of it is more important to me because that guy knows what he's talking about with that team.
Awesome.
So
You know, he's the top all-time
Undefeated.
pregame show guest.
Oh.
Yes, everybody else just fights for second. Some of them don't seem to like the fact that they don't have a chance to win first place.
Those are the best ones.
Now, he's been around, and he is as tapped in as any of the
Not just throwing. I mean,
beat
it's like
writers.
Reese. I mean, you always say it. When Reese writes
Reese
something,
just doesn't throw stuff
pay
around.
attention.
Yeah.
Neil in New Brunswick, I must say I'm very impressed with how many people are coming over to the dark side of actually blaming Bill Belichick. That used to be sacrilege with Patriots Nation. I have one comment and one more likely question. The comment is, if Mac fails, it is his fault. However, that's on Bill too. He drafted him, and it has to have more repercussions than just missing on a second-round corner. When other GMs miss on their franchise quarterback, it usually means their job. So what is more likely? Bill gets the Patriots back to an AFC Championship game appearance, or Robert moves on from Bill prior to Bill breaking the coaching win record?
B.
Unfortunately.
It's a really good PU poll.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's because of the AFC is so tough right now.
I'm going to shock you and say
know?
that the AFC Championship, because I just think that they're going to let him break that record.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I mean, at some point, if they win 6 games, then they,
I agree. I think the record is kind of silly, to be honest with you. I think it'd be cool. I don't really see what that does for us as an organization. Like, does that allow us to, maximize that on Patriots.com? Are we going to be writing sonnets on Patriots.com?
You better
about
start drafting yours.
the all-time
I would
wins
need-
record?
I need
mean,
Eric for that. I don't.
But do people the average NFL fan, who do you think is a better coach? Don Shula or Bill Belichick?
Yeah, I don't think there's
average
any
NFL
question.
fan.
No question.
Bill Belichick.
So who cares?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
It's like,
I mean, Andy Reid, like if he stays healthy, he'll break the record. If he, with Mahomes and everything, and
he's
if
kinda
Mahomes
old.
stays healthy,
How
I
far
should say.
behind is he? He's kind of old.
pretty far.
No, he's not as old as you think he is.
Andy Reid?
I think he's like 61. Right?
If only there was a way I could. Oh, you have that, Deuce?
Maybe
there
it's
was a way
just
we could look
because of
this up.
his physique
65.
that we think he's.
Oh, he's 65?
65?
Okay.
He just turned 65.
And how many? But more importantly, how many wins behind is he?
Let's hold, please.
While you're looking, you got it?
Not yet.
All right. While you're looking that up, we'll go back to the phones. Vinny's in Vegas. What's up, Vinny?
He's 5th.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
247.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me okay?
100 wins behind.
I am
10 years.
I am with Deuce. I think that I'm going to give Bill another year. I mean, I'm also with Evan. I don't think that he's infallible anymore. I think last year was atrocious. But I'm not ready to just say, it's time for us to move on. I think we talked about the first shoe that needed to fall was to get the offensive coordinator, right? We got that done. And I'm willing to wait and see for the draft and see what they do there. I'm not ready to just say, look, cut ties, be done. I think we can still turn around things this year. Now we might not be contenders, but I think there's a possibility that things look better. We draft, a couple of good prospects, and that we can move forward. So I have another question for you guys, if that's okay too.
Okay.
So the question I have is, we've talked about JSN, we've talked about Say Flowers, and I agree with those two guys. Say Flowers I think will be great Patriot, but it doesn't seem like we've talked too much about Jordan Addison, and I'm wondering if it's because you guys don't think that he's great, or because he might not be available at 14?
I think he's definitely available. I just
Definitely
say
available.
for me, I loved him out of the gate, and then I think he's okay. I think he's a nice, probably day two kind of consolation. I think the other guys move the needle more for me, just with specific skill sets. I think, to me, Jordan Addison kind of has a little bit of everybody, but isn't great at any one particular thing. I think they all have kind of questions about, are they big enough? Are they going to be able to get away from, NFL corners? But I think he's fine. I mean, I still got him on, as one of my guys on the big board, but
yeah,
I just, there's not a lot getting sexy about him really that gets you excited. But
yeah, I think that's all fair. I think that the biggest thing with him is that with his frame, I mean, only being 170 pounds or something like that, he doesn't burst off the line of scrimmage the way that you
guys are going to get him.
Really want him to. And he doesn't beat press the way that you would want him to do either. So a guy like Devontae Smith, for example, when he comes off the line of scrimmage, he's shot out of a cannon, right? So he might not have the 40 time that some of these quicker, faster guys have, but his 10-yard split would probably have been pretty darn good going into the draft. And I think with Addison, he's just kind of has modest acceleration, modest burst off the line. And with his frame, you do worry. Now, I think a really good offensive coordinator, which I think the Patriots have, will find a way to get him away from contact, right, and get him off coverage and get him away from press coverage as often as possible, and then he could be a really effective player. But he's not going to be able to play through contact like some of these other guys.
Just a clarification. The first list I pulled up was just the regular season. Full playoff, all the wins. He's 60 wins behind Bill Belichick right now.
Yeah,
60 wins.
That's a lot.
That's not. He could do it in less than 10 years if Mahomes stays healthy.
He's 65.
Okay.
So you can have him coaching at 75? So he'd be 3 years
said
older
less
than
than
the
10
oldest
years.
coach ever?
Yeah, right? Tying it all
Which
together.
we learned on Tuesday?
He's going to have to stop
It
eating.
could
He doesn't
happen.
look
He built for
cheeseburgers.
It could happen.
I don't think he'll be coaching in 10 years.
Okay.
Now, the
But
argument
he
is...
could do it in 6 years.
Yeah, the argument is...
He could do it in less than 6 years.
As long as
with
he has Mahomes,
17
he's going to average 13 regular season wins a year.
Right.
And probably win at least one playoff game every year, so maybe he can do it in 5.
He could have do it in 5 years.
But that's the other guy has to stop winning, too.
I know.
Like, he's 60 behind Belichick.
Right.
So that's 78 behind the record.
Yeah.
Can we go back to Addison real quick? I have a question for Deuce.
I like Addison.
His tape at Pittsburgh
Ooh.
in 21, Blittenkoff winner, 1,600 yards, unbelievable.
Kenny Pickett.
Now, their track record suggests that the last couple of years they've taken some guys that had better junior seasons to senior seasons, or however you want to call it. So if they follow that trend, then obviously JSN qualifies, but because he was hurt. Addison qualifies just because of the jump in competition from the Pac-12 to the ACC. So on one hand, you pause because, well, he faced better corners in the Pac-12 and he was worse. But on the other hand, if you go off the Blitnikoff year, then he has a conversation as wide receiver 1 along with JSN.
Yeah.
So how much stock do you put into the Pittsburgh tape? I think is a challenge that you have to ask with him.
I think it's tough. I mean, I think it's a worthy conversation, especially with Caleb Williams at USC, really good
Yeah.
too. Probably will be drafted higher than Kenny Pickett even was. It's hard, and the new offense as well. But then you're
Right.
talking, well, he's coming to a new offense here. This is a pro offense here. Lincoln Riley, I don't know off my head how pro-ready that offense is.
Little air raidy.
What's the matter with you?
I don't know. I don't. What?
Have some research done, for God's sakes.
How
I mean,
can
all
you-
you guys
I
have
didn't do
done
my
is
research.
watch every one of these guys fart over the last 3 years. You can't tell me what kind of offense
for me,
Lincoln
it's only
Riley
last,
runs.
like, 2
I have
weeks.
not.
I know Evan
I have not
can.
smelled any farts. All right.
I know Evan can tell me.
Well, I think Michael Mayer, you were ready to smell a fart, maybe in that department after you saw him up on the thing.
That's a good player.
He goes, "It's a good player."
Tim in Michigan writes in, I really don't understand the hate Wes Welker gets when it comes to the Patriots Hall of Fame. We're perfectly comfortable making a head coach who gave up on our franchise as a finalist, but not the slot receiver who probably changed our entire offense in the mid-2000s. I'm convinced Julian Edelman will get into the Hall before Welker, and he didn't even have better stats.
Not even close.
Do you put more value into Moss or Welker? I mean, do you think that was just kind of like a Bill and Tom thing where it's like a great just combination because they help each other so much? But I mean, but at the same token, the
Again,
09
I could
thing-
hear that argument if someone wanted to say, I think he benefited greatly from Randy Moss's presence. Again, I disagree with it, but at least that would be football. Like, that's a football argument.
Right. If you said that he played with Moss and then he played with Gronk, and those two guys really were the game changers, and he was just...
I just don't want to hear about Edelman then, if
Right.
we're going to do that.
Yeah, no.
Kyle and Pembroke, if the Patriots draft Zay Flowers, do you think they would trade Kendrick Bourne and a draft pick to get another second or third round pick? He'd be our fifth wide receiver in the room, and if he stays, and it seems like Belichick doesn't like him. I personally prefer he stay, but I can see this happening.
If they draft how that started.
If they draft Zay Flowers, do they trade Kendrick Bourne?
Someone will go. That'd be my guess.
I think it will wait till training camp.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen immediately. Well, it could happen in the draft, but my guess is more like we'll see what the offseason looks like. Maybe it'll be Parker who
Right.
goes.
I would much rather them do it that way because at least you get into camp and see who kind of wins the job in camp and then trade the cast.
You'd also have to see, like say in May and June, what does Tyquan Thornton look like in year two?
Right.
Can I rely on
Is he
him?
going to contribute? I mean, in a perfect world, I might say, can we get rid of Parker and put Thornton out there as the every down X, go down the field?
If you ask me, everybody can stay but one, Parker would be the guy to go. But I think they love Parker.
Danny's in Orlando. What's up, Danny?
Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
You guys doing all right?
Hey, Danny. Mike.
Hey, I want to thank Deuce and Evan. You guys did some good coverage during the Shrine during in February.
Yeah,
That's
well,
pretty
I
good
kind of
coverage.
carried the Shrine coverage myself, but Evan, Evan and Alex tried to get. I wasn't even out there. But thank you.
Good joke, Deuce.
So I wanted to pitch.
Fart
I
in
wanted to pitch
church.
this. I wanted to pitch this to you guys. The receivers that are coming up. I really like the Zay Flowers kid out of Boston College. I would like to see them choose him, but I don't know if they actually will. My main thing that I've heard you guys in the last couple months talking about receivers and corners, and I really think that the two hits that we really need to hit is corner, obviously, and then receiver. But I'm open to, like you guys were talking about, is getting a really good. If we can get a really dominant tight end, like almost like a Travis Kelce, I'd be happy with that. I mean, as long as he's effective
Not for me.
comes in and is productive, unlike Johnny Smith right off the bat. I mean, I don't want them to get a tight end and just use him as a blocker for the next 2-3 years. That's just kind of a waste.
Right.
They definitely they've been sniffing the
Yeah.
tight end.
Sniffing farts.
It's a great class.
Yep.
And I couldn't get on them.
Thanks, Danny.
I actually would really applaud them if they recognize that corner and tight end is so stacked this year, and edge rusher too, I would say. And they just said, look, it's just not a year for receivers, because I think that's the general consensus, is that this is a little bit of a down year for receivers, but we took top players in top classes at corner, tight end, and edge. I think that's one way of thinking about it. They brought in Dalton Kincaid
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
for a
Was that
top
yesterday?
30. They've met with pretty much every other tight end. Tucker Kraft, I think, is the other one that they brought in for a top 30, and they've talked to all of this class.
I saw
so.
two on Kraft. I don't know if you saw this. I think it was in the Beast, Dane
Beast.
Brugler.
I got to print that out. Thank you.
That I guess Alabama tried to get Tucker Kraft.
Yeah,
last
so
year.
that was really an interesting nugget, that Tucker Kraft, who went to South Dakota State, which is where Pierre Strong went, dominated at South Dakota State, which they like. Whenever you're at a lower level and you're a standout dominant player, they gravitate towards those guys. And apparently Bill O'Brien's already had his eye on him too. So that's somebody that I think, if you're starting to think about now, okay, who could they take at that position in the third round? I think we've got to lock Tucker Kraft into a short list there.
I can already hear the Robert Kraft joke being made after that pick was made.
He's a fun player. He's got some versatility to him, some yak ability, can get up the seam, can block a little.
It's guys like him and Schoonmaker that are they're going to need a little bit of time. I'm okay with one of those guys, but if they don't get a receiver, to your point, I'd love if they got, the Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm okay with a weapon if it doesn't have to come in a wide receiver package. If it's if it is a Dalton Kincaid who just is kind of going to be a move tight end, it is what it is. I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I think guys like Kincaid. I personally love Sam Laporta from Iowa. Both of those guys just scream Bill O'Brien matchup weapon, find him a matchup on a linebacker and watch the tight end, win in a one-on-one. That's Bill O'Brien's bread and butter, is finding those matchups, especially in the middle of the field, for guys that are quick and agile and just quicker than the guys that are covering them, and then you just find them space and you get it to them and
go to work.
Yeah, and I think that Kincaid definitely would fit that bill.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting Thursday night.
Always.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's going to be a great show. I can't wait.
I just think
I can wait. Trade out of the round.
You can wait.
That does stink, but I just think if you're a true football fan, I mean, it's the lifeblood of the NFL, and it's even just aside from the Patriots' issues and needs and all those things, it's just exciting when you get these players in. I mean, guys like Joe Burrow coming into the league, you don't realize, and all of a sudden they're superstars and kind of changing the whole dynamic of the league.
Is Zay Flowers getting as much hype outside of New England as he is in New England?
I would ask Evan.
I think the wide receiver needy teams are in on him. Like I know I always say it sounds crazy because they have Stephon Diggs, but the Bills want Zay Flowers. Like the Bills fandom is all over Zay Flowers as well. And
they need that.
Yeah,
they need a number 2 receiver.
Yeah, now
they absolutely do.
I think that's the big thing though with Zay is that he would be great in that offense next to Stephon Diggs. Is he a number 1 guy that can come here and do it all by himself? Not all by himself, but he would have to be the number 1, and Juju's now the number 2. Juju's not, going to be the number 1 in that formula. So that's the one question with this whole receiver class is, are these guys truly number 1 guys, or are they really more like that number 2 complementary skill set type of player?
Quickly around the room before we wrap up this show and get ready for Catch 22, which is coming up next.
For more draft.
If you had to pick one position right now, first round pick, let's assume the Patriots stay where they are. What position are they choosing?
Tackle.
You're going conservative.
I mean, that's not what I mean. If you ask me, what would you? Pick. I would say safe receiver, but I'm going to say tackle
because of the talent that might be available. Yeah, Evan.
Tackle.
Boring.
Biggest need?
No. What position will they pick?
I really have no idea.
Okay. Well, none of us have any idea.
No, but I think the biggest need is tackle. I don't really think it's that close to the next one. So I'll say tackle just because I think it's the biggest need.
Yeah.
And I think generally that's what they do.
I would say tackle, cornerback. I think as much as I would be all in for Zay Flowers at 14, I don't think
I'd be stunned if it's a wide receiver. And so you can pencil it in. They'll pick a wide receiver just because I said that. But corner, I would love.
I almost said corner.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tackle too. But I think if not tackle, it will be corner.
Yeah. If Christian Gonzalez fell, or they got down and grabbed Deonte Banks, those guys.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. Like I said before, Catch 22 is up next, and I'm got a feeling that Evan and Alex will be talking about the draft a little bit.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.